So then let's consider first of all, what is a mind in the grip of vicious circles? Well, one of the most obvious instances that we all know is the phenomenon of worry. The doctor tells you that you have to have an operation. And that has been set up so that automatically everybody worries about it. But since worrying takes away your appetite and your sleep, it's not good for you. But you can't stop worrying, and therefore you get additionally worried that you are worrying. And then, furthermore, because that is quite absurd and you're mad at yourself because you do it, you are worried because you worry because you worry. That is a vicious circle. So now, can you allow your mind to be quiet? Isn't it difficult? Because the mind seems to be like a monkey, jumping up and down and jabbering all the time. Once you've learned to think, you can't stop. And an enormous number of people devote their lives to keeping their minds busy and feel extremely uncomfortable with silence. When you're alone, nobody's saying anything, there's nothing to do. There's this worry, this lack of distraction. I'm left alone with myself, and I want to get away from myself. I'm always wanting to get away from myself. That's why I go to the movies, that's why I read mystery stories, that's why I go after to girls or anything that you do, or get drunk or whatever. I don't want to be with myself. I feel queer. So, well, why do you want to run away from yourself? What's so bad about it? Why do you want to forget this? Why do you want to become yourself? Because you are addicted to thoughts. This is a drug, a real dangerous one. Compulsive thinking, going on and on and on and on and on all the time. It's a habit. So there's a difficulty about stopping that activity. And you really have to stop it if you want to be sane. Because if I talk all the time, I don't hear what anyone else has to say. Then I'll end up in the situation of having nothing to talk about but my own talking. Or so in exactly the same way, if I think all the time, I won't have anything to think about except thoughts. So in order to have something to think about, there are times when you simply must stop thinking. Well, how do you do that? The first rule is don't try to. Because if you do, you will be like someone trying to make rough water smooth with a flat iron. And all that will do will stir it up. So in the same way as a muddy, turbulent pool quiets itself when left alone, you have to know how to leave your mind alone.
Some colors fade from the window pane as I look out to the west. I see the sunset in these evening skies, and I see more than they televise. And I know this ain't a joke. Somehow they realize the show, but still we think we are free. Pardon me, we're still too blind to see. Pardon me, never saw past all the simple things, and I wondered where the hell I've been inside. I fear I've been waiting for truth, and I know there's more to life that brings the joyous times and the joyous things that I fear I'm missing somehow. When I wake, I see glaciers falling from mountainsides. Yes, I see the melting away of liberty's years, so violent and glowing, flowing. Now the tides are rising, smoke-filled skies, auburn nights. I never thought I'd understand all the cracks in this cement, but as I drive over these city streets, I feel the presence of the dead. And unbeknownst to me, I see there's more to life than to my eyes meet. Oh, the truth is hidden always, but in the end, everything breaks down. Yeah, in the end, all the guilty will be found. When all the decadence exposed, when it's time, heads will roll. For all the reasons that we've got to revolt. For all the reasons that we've got to revolt. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Somehow I feel I know, like I found the cure for the world's problems, like somehow we'll save the day tomorrow, but there's no way to know anything for sure. All you see ain't all there is. In the end, old time will tell once the time is spent. Well, once time is spent. I see the colors splatter on the canvas red, and I see your face piercing through the veil between this world and infinity. I've never been much of an artist now, but I see the truth is pouring out, yeah, from the depths of these jokers' paintings. Now I see all my dreams unfold before me. Yes, I see an end to this whitewash story. Oh, the rabbit hole is calling for me. Society, man, it fucking bores me.
All right. Well, tonight we're going down a very interesting rabbit hole. If you noticed the thumbnail and the title of this video, it is The Wizard's First Rule. And if you don't know what that first rule is, stick around. All right. Well, aloha, mahanapono. Good evening. Okay, so the video, the title is kind of I wouldn't say misleading, but it's ambiguous. And that's if you're watching the replay or you find this video, you're going to find out what the wizard's first rule is. And what this is in reference to is Terry Goodkind's book novel, The Sword of Truth. And it's actually a really good fantasy book set. I've read the first 3 books. I haven't gotten any further. I've heard it kind of goes wonky after that, but they all do. Anyway, Wizard's first rule is as simple as this: people are stupid. And that's something that people need to understand, that people are stupid. You see, anytime I do a video on something, I put links. Usually, if I don't have links in my description box, it's most likely because I forgot. I've made quite a few videos between here and 2 months ago. So I don't always remember to do it. But usually, if I'm covering a subject, I will put links to relevant information that you can click on if you want further information, right? I pick the parts that matter. But if you want the whole entire article, go and look, and most people do that. And you see, I've noticed something that happens online, and I think it's going to be going away pretty soon, and I hope it's going to be going away pretty soon. It is the sense of entitlement that we have as human beings in this country, especially any first world country. We have this sense of entitlement, and I'll lay it out for you. When a YouTuber creates content, right? When they produce something, and they give you information. Take Fringe Files, take Marfoogle. It doesn't matter how much they spell out where they got their information from. It doesn't matter how many times they tell you to go into the description box if you want to know more, to click onto these links to kind of reveal more for yourself. They never do that. These people, no matter how many people you go online and you have follow you, and no matter how much you spell it out, you will always have somebody saying, where did you get your information from? And it's like, we're in a day and age is like, really? Are you really asking that question right now? That person is, you didn't watch the video. So it always baffles me when I take the time. And when I say I take the time to set this shit up and stuff. It's not very much, but I have to go out of my way to set my camera up and stuff like that to present something to people. And I give you the links. And I tell you, go search for yourself. It's just my opinion. I always tell that. It's my opinion. It's my speculation. It's my viewpoint. It's how I see things. It's how I think things are going to come about. That does not mean things will go that way. And I hope that most times that they don't, because the way I think things are going is not pretty. And you're going to be in a landscape that if things go that way, the way I think, that your entitlement of wanting somebody to hold your hand online because you don't understand the information or you don't get it or you can't figure out where I'm coming from or anybody where they're coming from. If you can't take the time to search the truth for yourself, get off the channel. Go do something else. The time for you going online and voicing your opinion on other people's channels because you can't understand the content that's coming out, or you think I'm bullshitting, or you think I'm full of shit. Look, I don't care. And I'll tell you why I don't care. I'll tell you why I have the privilege of not being able to care, is because unlike Fringe and people like Marfoogle, who intends to try to grow their channels, right? I don't. I'm grateful for every subscriber that I have, but I only have 101. I have another account that I've had for 8 years. I've had the same 13 subscribers that entire 8 years. I've never done it to make money. You see, I'm not trying to grow this platform. This, in being in a lockdown, this is in sort of a way, is me of relieving my tension and my stress, is by being able to communicate with people online and give my viewpoint about things, let it out. Right? That's how I relieve my stress. Now, you can believe it or not, but I'm not telling you to believe me. I'm not telling you to listen and hang on to my words and tune in next week for the most exciting gossip that I have. I'm merely giving you evidence that points to something that I think is going to happen, and you can choose to believe me or not. I'm not doing it to make you believe me. Find out for yourself. Follow the rabbit hole. If you want somebody to constantly hold your hand online and walk you through every single point and every single thing of every little thing, look, it means you're not prepared for the truth. It means that you're still stuck in your myopic way of thinking that your way is the right of it and that no one else could be right, that you couldn't possibly be wrong, that you couldn't possibly have stumbled onto something that you have no knowledge of. And by the way, the lack of knowledge for something is not a defense against that something, simply because you don't know anything about it. Or maybe you're on the scientific end and you have bought in to the mainstream science aspects that the world is fine or that CO2 is destroying humanity. It's not. And I don't have to be a scientist to know that. As a matter of fact, we've lost a significant portion of our CO2 that we as humans have been producing, that now science is looking at and saying, oh, wait, this actually isn't that good. We've had another ozone form. And of course, people are going to say, well, where did you get that knowledge from? Where did you find that out? Google it, look it up, man. I'm not going to hold anyone's hands online. And I say this from someone look, I'm a pothead. Like I don't care anymore to get into arguments online. I will voice my opinion and then I'll just leave it at that. I won't come back for a reply. I don't need to anymore. We are entering a landscape where we are going to just realize how important the wizard's first rule is. That is, people are stupid. You could literally have an 80-mile asteroid come crashing down, and you're going to have one yahoo right before it hits that'll point up to the sky and yell at the rest of everybody else running for cover, look, you sheeple, it's just a hologram from the government. Trust the plan. Before they get incinerated, right? You're always going to have one person that no matter how much evidence you present before them, they're just going to look at it like they got hit in the face with a fucking beehive getting stung, but like they're going to be like, but the honey is so good. That's how people are. People are stupid. We've been dumbed down in this society, and that any person that thinks outside of what is normal, right? What has been conditioned to be believed as normal is fringe. It's conspiracy theory. It's outsider. And we've also been conditioned to attack these people, right? People like myself, because I was one of them. I was one of the other people. I was an NPC, believe it or not. And I attacked people like myself because I bought into the system, that this matrix, right? This illusion. So the subject of wizards, right? Well, think about what humans do. We create spells when we create words. We channel, we power, we manifest. And it doesn't matter what we channel or what we give credit to that, be it a god, be it a goddess, be it nature herself, be it the universe, be it your own being, right? There is power in humans, but we've been conditioned to believe we don't have that power, like the power of manifestation, the power of will. You want something to happen bad enough, it will happen, but it's not always going to happen in the way that you want it to happen. However, you can draw things to you. I've discovered this, that every human possesses this power. It's not a hidden gem. You just have to believe in yourself. And you do it anyway. When you want to will something, when you pray for something, if you're a Christian, when you meditate on something, if you're a Buddhist, right? You're trying to will something into an existence. And if that thing happens, you praise that God or that goddess or whoever it is that you pray to, right? But you're still manifesting that. However, wherever that source comes from, you can put whatever name you want on it. You're channeling that manifestational power to create this reality that you call life, right? So we're all wizards in a way. But when I mean by wizard, I mean in the terms of Joseph Campbell's the archetypes of humans. Like we fit into archetypes because we've been taught throughout history that you must fit into an archetype. You have the archetype of the king, you have the archetype of the joker, the archetype of the warrior, right? The archetype of the lover. All of these different types of archetypes that we have been conditioned in, these roles that we have been prepared to play. They're just illusions cast by our own ignorance of what reality is and what it's not. It's just our little bubble, our illusion. And within that illusion, people can be so disillusioned with the illusion that they cease to understand that it's an illusion, and they then treat it as reality. And that's where you have this modern term of sheeple comes. People that follow blindly what they've been fed and what they've been told their whole life. And I want to make a distinction between myself and some other people that may speak on this. I don't say it in terms of derogatory, the sheeple, the people that are asleep, the naysayers. I don't have any ill will towards them. They're simply ignorant of their own situation. They haven't woken up. They don't know that they're being lied to and that they're being tricked and they're being fooled and that they're being propagated to play these little games in life that they think are important. These things called opinion and the idea of self, right? We play these games without realizing they're games. That's the first rule of the game, is that it's not a game. Yet because of the wizard's first rule, people are too stupid to realize that. And that's fine. People have always been stupid and people will always be stupid. When I say people, I include myself. Because for everything that I know, there is an infinitesimal amount of things that I don't know. And because of that disparity in knowledge, I can never claim to know more than what I know. And that's very little. And it's just an opinion anyway. All right. So HAARP, yeah, he said HAARP's been punching holes for years. HAARP's a real technology. Look, I don't have firsthand knowledge. I don't have second or third hand knowledge. But I have heard from people, just swapping tales, meeting veterans and shit like that in the military. I've heard tales of people that have worked on Intel about weather manipulation programs, and that stuff really has happened. And look, Project Bluebeam, that's an interesting thing. You should really look into that. I guess the whole point of tonight's video is revolved around the stupidity of people, because I had noticed all of these events that have been set into motion, that the average person, when I mean the average person, I don't mean the person watching this video or the person that's going to come back and watch the replay of this video. You're not the average person if you're looking at videos like this. The average person has no clue that whatever you want to call what the sun is doing, a grand solar minimum, I've been getting a lot of shit about that, people naysaying about that, whatever you want to call it, right? There's no denying that crops across the world have just gone up and ceased to exist. All it takes is a simple Google search, crop loss across the world, and look at the thousands of articles of the hundreds and hundreds of incidences of farmlands getting wiped out because of crazy weather, because of a lack of sun. The UN has even warned of this stuff. And whether or not you buy into the conspiracy of the plan and the deep state, look, too many places across too many countries across the world are saying the same thing. The sun's going into lockdown. There's minimal sun activity. I don't need to hold your hand on that and explain that to you. If you don't get that, then that means that you don't understand the basic concepts of investigating. Because when we investigate something, we type in the shit that wants to prove us right. But just type in sunspot minimum activity 2018 to 2020. There's your solar minimum. There's your explanation for anybody that was asking that. That's where I get my information from. Look at the Dalton minimum. That was a grand solar minimum. When I say grand, what I mean is a solar minimum that is so severe that it makes it a grand and not just a solar. That's what I mean by that. That's my definition of that. It's a solar minimum that we go through every 22 years. We have 11 years. And by the way, this, you know, where I get my science from this? Science. Look it up. 11 years of solar maximum, 11 years of solar minimum. Now, in the 11 years decline of solar minimum, a sun has less activity, less sunspots. It affects our weather every 11 years. However, sometimes, we don't know why, it can last for decades. And it can be so detrimental to human beings that it alters our way of life. And if you don't understand that, or you don't want to accept that, fine, but get the fuck off my channel. I don't want to hear your input. If you don't want to hear that, go somewhere else. Go watch Keeping Up with the Kim Kardashians. Go watch that garbage. Go bury your head in the sand. I don't care. I'm not here to prove my point. I'm not here to get people to believe me. And I look, we're in times where people like me are going to be the people like you, the sheep, not anyone watching this, but you guys know who I'm speaking of, are going to turn to and look for answers, because when their Netflix stops coming in and they can no longer buy a fucking burger at Burger King, they can't fill up their gas anymore because they don't have a fucking job. They're not going to know what to do. Complaining online won't help. As a matter of fact, the people like me at that point will be off the internet, because that's when shit will be real. And I won't have time for these. You won't see me anymore. There's going to come a time when I disappear. And when I do, then you'll probably see it all around the world at the same time. It won't be like I'm ahead of the curve. I'll just cut this shit off. There's no point of it anymore, because my point of doing these videos is to get you as prepared mentally, physically, and psychologically for what is about to happen. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. And here's the secret. I hope that I'm wrong. I want to be wrong about all of this, because being right means that your life will change in a way that is not fabricated by the government, that is not some conspiracy theory about vaccines to take over the world. Whether or not I personally believe that there's a lot of credence to that, but that won't matter if there's no food for anyone. We don't understand that. We're at 8 billion people, and we have barely been able to maintain the status quo. Millions of people die every year of starvation. So obviously we're not maintaining it, but to a degree, we're maintaining it. We have never been in the history of this go around at 8 billion people. Now you combine a solar minimum that's detrimental to humankind. You combine a global pandemic. You combine that with artificial food losses. You combine that with weather patterns that's wiping out crops. You get a life that has only ever been described in fantasy novels, in Hollywood. And so because it's in Hollywood, we've been conditioned that could never happen. That shit's only in the movies. Only the movies can only depict reality so far. And what you're going to get is something out of a Hollywood horror novel, only it's going to be on steroids. And again, if I'm wrong, great. I'd rather be here 6 months from now doing videos on philosophy and have some yahoo come on and say, you were wrong. And I'm going to be like, well, great. You're here to complain. So great. I mean, that's fine. But I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to be wrong. And the problem is that people are stupid. They don't understand that. They don't see all of these things that are collapsing around them, right? The whole world could be on fire outside of your house, but if you're stuck glued watching the latest episode of your favorite TV show on Netflix, and I'm not demagoguing that, I'm just giving that for an example, you're not going to know the world's on fire. We've got a new reality coming to humanity. It's not American problem. It's not a Chinese problem. It's not an Iranian problem. This is a human problem. And that's where I take my stand. I stand for humanity, not for any one nation. I don't stand for any one party. I don't stand for any one president. How myopic. If you think any of that matters, when your species as a whole is about to go through some turbulent times, and we've been conditioned to not even notice it. So, look, if you want to speak your truth and you want to go online and you're going to get naysayers. It's like I said earlier. You'll have that one person right before that asteroid hits, will just proclaim it's a hoax. People just do not want anything that pops their bubble of the illusion that they have created for their own reality, right? People are willfully ignorant. That's why it's not ignorance, it's ignorance. We ignore things because we don't want to face those things. We know they're there in the back of our minds, in the corner of our eyes. We know, we can feel it in the air. There is something going on. Every human on this planet has that feeling. We're connected to nature in a way that we haven't been able to understand with science, but we can understand with shamanism. We grow from this earth in the same way that an apple tree produces apples. The earth produces peoples. Now, whatever God you want to worship doesn't matter. That is a fact. We grow on this earth, so we are connected to it in the same way that butterflies are connected to flowers. We just don't know how to see it, because we've let this thing called self get in the way. But you can ask any human being that has any lick of sense, do you feel like something's off in the world? something's not right. And they'll tell you yes. I'm willing to wager that more people would say yes than no. But you are going to have those like, Trump 2020. It just, you've got those people. And I only use the Trump thing not because I'm bashing Trump people, but just because that is the thing that we all can associate with Trump derangement system. You're going to have people that are going to follow blindly with somebody else's ideology, and you're going to have people on the opposite side strongly opposing it. That formula has existed for 10,000 years. If you think it's new with Republicans and Democrats, you don't know your own history. You're simply falling into the same game that has been played by the people who wish to control you since day one, and that is create division amongst the people. We're still doing it. You see, my words won't matter in 100 years because any mistake that I tell us not to avoid, we're going to make that mistake as a whole because we always do. The one thing we learn from history is that we do not learn from history. We don't. Even if we have the knowledge of what's happened in the past, we have the ego that tells us, not me, not this time. I won't succumb to what my predecessors have succumbed to since the beginning of time, as we've recorded it. It's the same story. Different instrument, same tune. We always do this. And you see, it's not even something that's being done against our will. We as human beings, we have this sort of innate chaos that we must incite within our own lives, right? It's almost like since this go around of civilization, it's been beaten into us, the common man, the people that are not born with gold in their veins, to obey, to listen, and to have the need and want and desire for rulers. Why? Why do we need to be ruled? Why do we need law and order? It's because we have been taught this concept that if there were no law of the land, that human would just descend into chaos. We'd go into anarchy and we'd start looting and robbing and killing and murdering. And I'm not saying that that wouldn't happen, but those people that did it, guess what? They would get shot and they would die pretty quickly. You wanted to have a purge type situation, most people wouldn't participate in it. At least not in this country. You'd have a lot that would. You'd have a lot that would do anything about anything. That's the thing about exclusivity. There's no such thing as exclusivity because there's always going to be somebody that's going to be included in that exclusivity. So therefore, it's not exclusive. We all do something about something. We all have our fantasies and our fears and our worries and our doubts, right? All of these amalgamations of emotions and thought processes. What it means to be human. None of us are perfect. Yet we have this concept that human beings are either dark or light. We're either good or evil. That's a Christian concept. It's not that we're one or the other. We're both. You see, we live in this system called the versus system, and the versus system sees everything in opposition, and it comes from Christian theology. And make no mistake, even if you're an atheist, you have worshiped God in some form of a manner if you live in the United States of America, because our society, along with most of the West, has been foundational in Christian theology. Christian theology has put forth this notion that good is battling evil, and it's an eternal battle, and it's been going on since the beginning of time. But one day, good will overcome evil. Well, once good has overcome evil, then you won't know what good is anymore. And if you're going to spend an eternity in good, how monotonous and how boring. You see, good does not exist without bad, and bad does not exist without good. So that is to say that human beings possess both the capabilities of good and bad. It is our choices that decides which wolf we feed, but we have both wolves in us. And so to the masses, to the people who have always been the way they have always been, you cannot save everybody. Most people will never see this video, will never hear me, will never know what I look like or what I sound like, and that's fine. Those people can't be saved. When you have a crisis, a ton of people die always. Do you know why? Not just because of something that creates a terrible amount of death at once, but it's how people respond afterwards. And a lot of people respond poorly because we're continuing the same tune of getting people to depend on our rulers, our leaders, our government, whatever form you want to call it, for help and for guidance and for shelter. We're taught that our government is going to come in and save us if things get dicey. You'll be one of the masses that may become a casualty if you believe that. It doesn't matter what the crisis is. Leaders rarely lead. They boss. They dictate. They authoritize. They don't lead. So I'm going to go ahead and end it tonight. It's going to be just a quick rant. And I really appreciate you guys coming out tonight. And aloha, ma'a hanapana.